The western borders of Ukraine have become a sieve, a revolving door of despair. More than 3 million people have fled Ukraine. That's nearly 7% of the country's entire population. Tatiana Andreeva and her cats, along with her 2 young daughters, spent 22 hours on a train from their home in southern Ukraine to the Polish border town of Medyka. When they arrived, the chaos they left behind was, for a moment anyway, replaced with compassion. But their journey was just beginning. They were soon boarding a bus, going deeper into Poland, where they hope to catch another bus that will take them to Germany. 11-year-old Anna and 6-year-old Irina have been spared the grim details, for the most part.
Дітей я постаралась трохи відгородити і не надаю їм всю інформацію, ту, що я маю.
UNICEF estimates that at least 1 million of the refugees are children. The rest are women and the elderly. A human catastrophe on a scale that Europe hasn't seen since World War II.
Don't believe that this will be over quickly.
David Miliband is the president and CEO of the International Rescue Committee.
As bad as this is, over 3 million people so far, how bad do you think it might get?
However much we hope for the best, we should plan for the worst. And planning for the worst means figures of 5 or even 7, or in some estimates 10 million people leaving the country.
Those kinds of dire predictions have already triggered a never-before-used directive that allows refugees to stay and work in EU countries for up to 3 years.
The approach was, let people in first, do the paperwork second. And that's a very significant reaction, and it speaks to the scale of the crisis.
But Miliband says the exit out of Ukraine is only part of the problem.
We have to remember that for every person who makes it out of Ukraine, there are 10 still inside Ukraine.
Russia's cruel indifference to providing humanitarian corridors has left them virtually cut off. Those who can leave carry with them baggage of a different sort, including those covering the conflict, like award-winning photojournalist Peter Turnley, who brought back these images this past week.
I ran into a journalist, and he asked me what I had experienced. And I told him the sense of guilt that I felt, that I could walk away from the situation and the people that I had seen could not. And I literally, without warning, just began to sob.
He captured in an instant what words never could. But if there's one emotion that overwhelmed them all, he says, it was a sense of loss. This image of a man named Vitaly saying goodbye to his family in Kyiv haunts him still.
He stood on the tracks for a long, long time, and he and his wife and daughter just stared at each other. But suddenly the train just left, and it was like air had just come out of a balloon, but you couldn't get it back. And I remember feeling this incredible sense of pain for this gentleman, Vitaly, that just had lost contact with his wife and child, and the destiny for all 3 of them was completely unknown.
If Vladimir Putin's goal was, in part, to create a refugee crisis to destabilize Western democracies, politically so far he's failed. What he has succeeded in doing, however, is testing the limits of human cruelty.
This moment feels very dark. And as so many people have been forced to leave the country, one has a sense as well that a lot of light and illumination has been taken away from their hearts.